You talked about being mentored yourself by
Yeah.
Gary Shandling and others, and that helped you on your journey into the film industry. How did that help you or inform your ability to mentor all your students now?
Oh my gosh. I'm a teacher at heart. I love teaching. Some of the greatest impact others have had in my life were my teachers. I think so fondly all the way back through like my ninth grade history teacher who would show up
Mm.
to school on Monday and go, I'm going to be sick on Thursday because there's a swell. So, like, he would bail from school to go surf and then come back and tell us
Nice.
crazy stories from history about, like, Lenin and Stalin and, figures that I didn't know history was about stories. So, carrying that forward of like my love of teachers, Gary was also, he was a teacher, and just by breathing his air, I think all of us can say he changed my fabric. Like Kevin Nealon says about him, he changed my fabric. He changed the way I think. He changed what I thought of as like deep character development. He would be like, no, you're up here. We got to go deeper. And he was looking at the human condition, and he was always toggling between the two questions for his characters in his show, like Larry Sanders. What do they love? What's their love? What's their pain? Because if we can
Mm.
go to both extremes with a character, we're going to like see who they really are. There's an amazing scene at the end of that show in sixth season where the character Artie, who's the tough guy, always in the show, and as the show is ending, he goes into the wardrobe closet and like totally breaks down and cries. And like
Mm.
that pain for him of not just the loss of the show and all his friends, but his identity, like that shows a comedy. But Gary was always looking for range, what would now be called dramedy. That wasn't really called that
Mm.
then. So I would listen to he was always reading other writers and his friends and, comedians coming over to the house. And he had a wolf pack. He had basketball games on Saturday, and he would invite all his friends over, and he was always reading them and giving them notes. And honestly, as a guy, he was sending his guy friends flowers, like giant
Mm.
bouquets and congratulations for like a new movie coming out or something. And I think I was even stuck in some gender roles, and like seeing him do that, like with his whole heart, with his love, taught me like I can love more. I can
Mm.
wrap my arms around people bigger and better, like especially the way he took care of all of us, the creatives in his space. He showed me how to be a mentor and how to really care. There's a story about him, kind of, I'll tell you that we were working so hard, and we were working on his DVD set at the time, which was not just the best of the Larry Sanders Show. And it was like, a lot of like looking at his photos and looking at the clips, and he was running around interviewing his friends. And it was a really late night. And then we ended up watching The Tonight Show. It was just he and I in the office by that time. And he'd never seen the comic before. Forgive me, I don't remember who it was, but he had never seen the comic before. And we just really thought the guy killed it. And he goes, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go call him. And I was like, I thought you said I didn't know this kid, And he's like, well, they always book the comics at the same hotel. He's like, I'm just going to go to call him, tell him that he did a great job and that he really killed it. And he left, and he came back, 10 minutes later, and he reached the comic and he said, Kaia, you got to understand, the loneliest moment of a comedian's life is going from delivering a set to 25 million people and then going into your cold, lonely hotel room in the silence
Mm.
by yourself. And he's like, I know I can warm up that moment with a phone call to just say, it's Gary Shandling. You killed it. I saw your set. I think you're onto some great things. And he's like, that makes somebody's life. And he wanted to be that guy who could really, support someone new coming up. He loved young people in his space, breathing that air. So yeah, a lot of my like now identity is like, I want to be like Gary. Honestly,
Yeah.
and you'll see Judd say that too, like, in his wonderful show, The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, like Gary was spiritual, he was meditating, he was searching, he was really a searcher, a seeker for those answers that he was bringing us through his exploration of those incredible characters on screen.
He's just
What
a
a
good
great
human.
story.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's the part of it. I think that he imparted in you, other than the training, the knowledge, and all that, which is excellent as a mentor. And that's, I think, what most people look for, is the person who can pass on the knowledge. But there's something else that Gary obviously passed on, and I think Chris and I likely live in the same area, where it's like, yes, there is that knowledge, there's the intellect, there's the experience, there's all the facts, the figures, but just being a good human. Now that right there, when you couple it with all those things, really
Yeah.
makes you the kind of mentor that I think everybody needs, regardless. So I love that for him, that he gave that to you. I love that for you. And I love that for all of the people that you mentor, because they're not just gonna learn, but they're gonna feel. Like, that's what's so amazing about it. So I love it. That's a beautiful story.